Okay, so there was this guy, G.W.F. Hegel, and he wrote this book called The Phenomenology of Spirit, and everyone loved it, and it sold 1 billion trillion copies. Lots of people have done lots of videos about all that, but when I look up one of the most controversial ideas in all of his works, all I can find is a shit ton of weeb trash. So today I'm correcting that. Here's an introduction to... One of Hegel's less talked about works among scholars is the preface from Phenomenology. The reason it's not talked about very much is because it's considered problematic. So what's the issue? Did he say that a womb migrated around a woman's body like Plato? Did he say fava beans were a holy food and forbid eating them like Pythagoras? No, the reason this passage is problematic is because it's not exactly the best argument. And as such, philosophers have been arguing about it back and forth for centuries. I know what you're thinking, and yes, Hegel scholars are indeed entirely a group of sociopaths. So what's the argument in question? Here, I'll read it to you. Because, as we put above, the substance is in itself subject. All content is its own I'm just kidding. I love Hegel, and even I think he's boring as shit. Now, lots of people have talked about Hegel's master-slave dialectic, but they rarely go into an explanation of the dialectic itself. For Hegel, it's not just the process of pitting two ideas against each other and seeing which comes out victorious. The best way to describe it is with the metaphor of chemistry. Say you're making mustard gas. We combine the two reactants, and a new compound is formed, mustard gas, which, while produced by the reactants, is not made of the reactants. When applied to Hegel, the reactants are the truths at the core of the two ideas. And you are, well, you. You take those two ideas and see what new ideas come from combining them within your mind. However, if you intervene in this reaction, say urinating on the mustard gas reactants, or if you impart too many of your own thoughts rather than letting the logic play out in the case of the dialectic, then any results you draw from it will not represent pure truth. So dialectic can only happen in our mind, but if we get too involved, we ruin it. So it's best to let the ideas fight among themselves. So what's Panlogism then? Well, Hegel never talks about it directly in his work. In fact, it's generally used as an insult against Hegel. It all started with this dude, Johann Erdmann, who was a super big Hegel stan, who used it to describe some of the assumptions that Hegel was making in his works. You may have noticed that if the logic of the dialectic takes place within the human mind, but also if ideas and their core truths have a reaction which we can ruin by imparting our own ideas, it implies that the logic of the dialectic, and therefore all of reality according to Erdmann, must be external to the individual and ever-present everywhere around us. So to be an everywhere logic, a panlogist, you believe that the only thing that constitutes reality is pure reason, and the rest of the stuff around us is just a bunch of bullshit. Of course, these days, it's a little difficult to ask Hegel what he meant because, he's dead. Nevertheless, the philosophers kept arguing. This next guy, Renouvier, was a bit of a dick to Hegel, but you gotta understand why. You see, Hegel's ideas were used to justify a lot of the expansionist policies of Germany during World War I. So as an individualist and a Kantian, Renouvier wasn't having any of that shit. He eventually chilled out, though, and was like, yeah, Hegel's got some good ideas, but at the end of the day, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a real duck. Miss me with that all that matters is pure reason shit. I'll stick to phenomenalism, thank you very much. Welcome to the 1907 French Society of Philosophy cage match. The topic of tonight's debate, Hegel. This event is brought to you by Plato's Closet and a Che Guevara t-shirt made in a sweatshop. In this corner, weighing in at 130 IQ, René Berthelot. And in this corner, the destroyer of dogma, the eradicator of errant reasoning, weighing in at an IQ of 156, Emile Betrot. Let's get this match started, folks. Berthelot is right out of the gate swinging, making a long and roundabout argument that there's no teleology in Hegel to a group of people who are never going to agree with him. And guess what? Everyone's just kind of staring at him awkwardly. Crow comes back with a right hook, saying that Hegel is an objective idealist who believes in the reality of things, but only insofar as they are perceived by humans. Berthelot's on the ground, and Boutreau comes at him with a pile driver. Hegel's philosophy is an absolute rationalism and eliminates any need for human individuality, and that makes him a panlogist. Berthelot is absolutely crushed. What an embarrassment. His reputation will never recover. Okay, so this next guy, Mr. B, builds on these other guys' works and says, yeah, Hegel was cool and all, but he didn't know about science, so we should take his ideas with a grain of salt. The only reason I mention him is because of this. Hegel posits a logic or a panlogist universe governed by the monotone deployment of the ternary rhythm of dialectics. Sick burn. That's an introduction to Panlogism. If you take away anything from this video, it should be that the intricacies of Hegel are boring and stupid and you should just read Kohav and Feuerbach instead. Okay, bye.